Hey everybody, and welcome to Train Signal. Now that we've created a database and created some objects, and I've kind of shown you around that realm of SQL Server, let's go ahead and step back for a minute and let's take a look at Management Studio itself, because there are a lot of really rich features in there that can make your life a lot easier. And I've heard it said many times, right? You're only as good as your tools. So let's go ahead and get started. So registered servers is a really good feature because it allows you to keep track of your database connection, or your server connections, and the IDs that you use to, or the credentials that you use to pass into them. Let's go ahead and take a look and I'll show you what I mean. So here we are in Management Studio again, and I'm connected to my local box LabCon. But let's say if I destroy that connection, I haven't destroyed anything in there other than my connection to it. And I'm in Object Explorer, right? So I can click on it again and go to Database Engine, and I can click on LabCon, and I can explore LabCon. I can do anything I need, right? You see my food and my food2 databases. But once I destroy it, it's gone, and I have to reconnect again every single time, just like that, right? And I also have no idea. Let's say I had 2 or 3 or 4 or 400 boxes that I needed to keep track of, right? I've got no way to do that other than this recent server list right here, right? So there's a much better way, and that's with registered servers. If I come down and go View and choose Registered Servers, you can see automatically that I have local server groups, and under the local server groups I have LabCon. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's right click and say Properties. So in here I've got the server name and I've got the authentication method. I can switch that to SQL Server if I wanted to, if I didn't have a Windows account on that box. Let's switch it back to Windows. And I can choose some connection properties. I can tell it which database to connect to by default. That's actually pretty cool. I can tell it which network protocol to use. Most of the time we're going to use TCP/IP, but it could be shared memory or named pipes. I'm also going to, for slower links, I can increase the timeout, right? So I can tell it to encrypt the connection. I can use a custom color. We're going to come back to that later. So I've got options, okay? But let's say I have another server that I want to do the same thing with. Let's right click and we'll say New Server Registration, and let's use SQLCon in this case. And I know I have a Windows account there. I'm going to go ahead and test it. Good, it tested successfully, and I'm going to save it. And it came under here. Now it came up under local server groups. So now in Object Explorer, where I have nothing, if I usually come up here and say, I can just double click there and it'll automatically pop up in Object Explorer. Whereas if I had several more of these guys, I could put them under there too. It doesn't end there. I can say New Server Group, which is really the SMS way of saying a folder. So I could say, make this a production, right? A production folder. I can right click and say move to, there we go, sorry about that. Now I can say move it to production. And now I'm starting to organize my SQL servers, right? So say for my 700 something boxes at my day job, I've got folders and folders and folders and folders where I've got these things organized every different way. 100, you have to already have them in a folder. So you can't say, I want this one, and then I want this one. See, I can't, I'm trying to control click and shift click here, and it's just not working. So you can't highlight multiple ones. You can't highlight like every other one like you can do with folders and files in Windows. So you have to already have them in a folder if you want to query only, say, 4 out of 400. And then you can click on the folder and it'll query every single one of them. Now, if it can't connect to one of the boxes in there, then down at the bottom where it said connected to 2 of 2, it'd just say connected to 3 of 4. And it'd just skip that last one because it wasn't able to connect to it. Now, this column right here where it does the server name, you can take that or not, right? If you come up here to Tools and then Options, and you go to SQL Server and then Multi-Server Results, you can see here that I can add the login name if I wanted to, and I didn't want to, but I can add the server name to the results, and I can merge the results. So if I don't merge the results, it'll come back as 2 separate result sets. That's hardly the point. Trust me, you want it to be in the same result set. But I don't have to have the server name added to it, which, if you ask me, what's the point in not having the server name, right? If you're checking sys jobs on all the servers, and I come over here, well, now I don't know which server the job is on, right? So if I wanted to come here, oh, well, this is version control hourly job. Let me take a look at that one. I'd have no idea what server that's on. So it doesn't really do a lot of good to do this without the server names, but I just wanted to show you that it's there if that's what you wanted to do. So I'll come here, rerun it, and now I've got my server name back. There you go, and that is Group Server Query. and then you would send them that file, either put it up on a share or email it to them, and then they'll import it just like that, and then they're up and running with absolutely everything you have. That's importing and exporting registered servers. Okay, now we're going to talk about connecting to a central management server, or as we call it, the CMS. And frankly, we're really not going to spend a lot of time on this. I don't like the central management server. I don't think it was done very well at all. Some people love it. I'm not one of them that does. I think it's way too slow over VPN, and actually I think it's way too slow over the network as well. So I'm going to show it to you. You can make your own. You can make up your own mind as to whether or not you like it. All the same, let's go ahead and take a look. So here we are in Management Studio again. To create a central management server, let's go ahead and get rid of the local database. So you notice here you have the database engine, and when you expand it, you go to local server groups and central management servers. So it's pretty easy. You can register a central management server. Oh, let's go ahead and register SQLCon as a management server. I'll test it. That's great. And now, all I need to do is say new server group or new server registration. All it is, a central management server, is a way to take your local server registrations that when you get new DBAs, you would ordinarily, like I just showed you, you would export your settings and then he would import them on his side. Well, a central management server keeps you from having to do that because you register all of your servers on the central management server. So I can say new server registration, LabCon, and say OK. And now everybody would just connect to the central management server instead of having to pass around those XML files that we imported and exported in the last lesson. And it sounds like a really good idea because now if you change the structure, then everybody sees that change. Or if you add a database, everybody sees that database automatically. So the theory is good, but I just don't think it was implemented well. It's really, really slow. And we do a lot of work remotely, like when I go out of town and even when I'm across town. And I connect through VPN a lot, and it's really, really slow over VPN. So I'm not a big fan, but I do know some people who are. So go ahead and try it out and see what you think. Okay, I want to talk to you about changing options real quick. Now, what I mean by changing options is we're going to be changing a really cool registered server option, and then I'll show you how to generally make things look the way you want to in Management Studio. Here we go. Okay, here we are in Management Studio. Now, one of the big issues that we have in SQL Server is doing things on the wrong box. One of the biggest cries of both DBAs and developers and end users as well, actually, is, oh no, I just did this on the production box and I meant to do it on the dev box. Or, oh no, I just did this on this box and I meant to do it on the QA box instead. What am I going to do? So, there is something that you can do to help give yourself a visual cue as to which server you're on. Let's go ahead and take a look at registered servers. And I'm going to stick with my local group. So we're going to say right now that LabCon is our dev box and SQLCon is our production box, okay? So I'm going to right click on LabCon. And remember, I'm in registered servers. And I'm going to go to Properties. Now I'm going to go to Connection Properties. nice to have them numbered so so you can automatically see which one to go to. There are a lot more options that you can change. Go ahead and tools and options and look around, and you can almost do no wrong. So just play with it until you find some good stuff in there for yourself. All right, Object Explorer details. This is another one of my absolute favorite features because it gives you so much information at a glance, and this is something that we only got in the last version of SQL Server, so we're still all pretty excited about it. Come on and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, here we are back in Management Studio. Now, I'm going to connect a SQL Con for this one because I've got a lot more databases on that server, and it's going to be a richer experience for this demo. So we're talking about Object Explorer details, and the way you get there is you can go to View and say Object Explorer details, or you can just hit F7. Honestly, I bounce between both of them, right? So for every level. If I go inside a database, let's say, let's go inside the recipe database. I've got the same thing. Inside the recipe database. So let's go to tables. And you can see here I've got policy, health state, and create date. Well, I'm not really interested in policy health right now, nor am I really interested in create date, but I am interested in, say, row count. And I'm interested in data space used versus index space used. Okay, so you can see that you've got some really cool stuff in here that you can go to, or that you can use, I mean, and this has memory as well. So there's some really cool things in here. Not to mention at the databases level, I can see how many databases there are. But if I click on the database itself down here, I get a lot of database specific information, so I can see who the owner is, and I can see the compatibility level, and I can see the database ID. So I can see all that stuff down here just by Okay, we're back here in Management Studio. Let's take a look at templates. Now, templates are just what they sound like. They're templates that you can use to help you write your T-SQL code. Because we've been doing everything in T-SQL so far, right? We haven't really used the wizard for anything, and that's the way it should be. I think I'm going to talk about that more later. but it's hard to know the syntax for things, especially if you're not used to it. So templates are a really good way to get used to that. You can say View, Template Explorer. You can say Control-Alt-T for template. And inside of here, you've got just a lot of templates in here that show you how to do things. So for the database, remember we created the database earlier. Let's just do a simple create database. It opens up that template. And of course, this doesn't, I mean, you've got all this in here that you have to replace, but it's really easy. If you just say Control-Shift-M, you can where is it? Stored procedure templates right here. They've got indexes and functions. I got almost anything you could use. And if something doesn't suit your needs, then just create one that does, and you can share it between you and all of your guys. Anyway, so that's templates. I hope you like them. All right, finally we're going to learn how to search for objects. This can be really helpful when you've got just hundreds or even thousands of objects in your database and you're looking for something specific. Let's go see. Okay, here we are once again. And it'll show me where that object is so I can go to it and do whatever I need to do. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to script your database objects. There's a couple different ways you can do at least one of them, but most of them you're going to be stuck with the GUI. That is until we get to the PowerShell section. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, here we are in Management Studio again. Let's go ahead and go back to, let's use Report Server again, why not? Let's say I want to script one of these tables, the chunk data table. All I have to do is right click and say script table as create, and I can either do it to a new query window, directly to a file, to the clipboard, or to an agent job. Typically you'll use either a new query window or a clipboard. Let's go ahead and go to a new query window. And there, we've scripted out that table. This is especially useful if you want to create a table that's a lot like this one. It'll keep you from typing a lot. Let me close this down. And the same thing holds true for pretty much anything. If I want to script out this SP, I can just say script procedure as create to, or I can say alter or drop and create. And I'll say to new query window. There we go. Now, SPs have a different way that you can do them that is a lot more useful, especially if you've got a lot of objects. This is a lot of SPs. Yeah, that's a lot of SPs, but I've got several databases at work that have several thousand SPs. And a lot of them have very similar names. So going through the list and deciphering what that name is can be very difficult. So the easiest way to do that, and I'm going to Control A and backspace on that, is to just say sp_help text. And inside of there, I'm going to take that SP name that I just copied. Now right here I can say results to grid or results to text. I'm going to switch it to text and I'm going to hit execute. And there you go. Now I have the SP scripted. I can click in here and say Control A and then Control C. Let me hit Control R and get that down. Control V to copy. You have to get rid of this text portion right here. And now I have that SP. And if it were something that I were just trying to script to see how to work with it, or if it were something I wanted to modify, then I could easily script it out that way, and I don't have to search through all of those thousands or hundreds of objects to just to be able to find it, to be able to right-click on it. Unfortunately, you don't have the same convention for anything else. Maybe for views, but definitely not for tables. So SP help text does not work for tables, but SP's absolutely wonderful. Now I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. That doesn't mean to say that I couldn't say output to grid, because I could. Sorry. I wanted to run this. So I could output to grid, and all I got to do is select that whole thing and copy it. So either way, I just like to see my SP results in text, that's all. So okay guys, that was a whirlwind tour around Management Studio. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson.